Right, welcome ladies and gents. This is going to be my Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny review. Just got back from watching it, probably about an hour ago. Paid for it, went to the theatre, have seen it now. And this will be non-spoilers at the start, and then I'll just go balls deep into the spoilers. Look, I think universally across every review, you're going to hear the same thing. The first act was great. The first act was truly great, actually. Set in the past, in World War II, sort of tail end of it anyway. And it's what we see of the de-aged Indiana. And the only giveaway, ever so slightly, was Harrison Ford's voice every now and then. You just hear a little bit of the age creeping through. Now, I don't know how they did it, or whether that's a preconceived notion, because you know it's a de-aged guy and you're thinking about it, but that was the only gripe I could have, was like, oh, sounds a bit old there. But it was beautifully done. It was a great first act. It had all the offerings of an Indiana Jones film. It had every single thing you would want. Genuinely, everything. There's a new chap, a new friend, an Oxford professor, Basil Shaw. But it was a solid opening, solid opening. The de-aging stuff, you know, it is probably the best we've seen. Yeah, it is probably some of the best we've seen thus far. You know, like I'm trying to compare it to something else. Maybe Luke Skywalker in the Mandalorian episodes, you know. But I'd say probably a bit better. There was ever so slight bits and pieces here and there, but they really did spend the money on it, you know. And I know you can do it on a budget because you can do, deep fakes and things like that. And this is essentially that. But hey, look, it just worked. It was a great opening act, solid, good action, good music. It all felt like Indiana Jones. And then we open in present day, but not present day, the moon landing, current day for Indiana, and we're dealing with a crotchety old man, quite literally a guy who's in his underwear banging on his neighbour's door, telling them to turn the radio down, turn their music down and off at 8 a.m. in the morning. That's not Indiana. Now I get it, because some of this stuff is to build character development throughout the movie. But to go from such a good opening to that, it's very jarring. It's very jarring. Very, very, very jarring. Now, from there, we do get introduced to his goddaughter, who is Phoebe Waller-Bridge, Fleabag, Helena Shaw. And she's a deeply unlikable character on many levels. She is very, very egotistical, very self-assured. There's dialogue in the trailer, you know, oh, I'm incredibly witty, charming, blah blah blah, and so beautiful. And it's like, that's not said as a quick, you know, quip. She means it. That's truly what she thinks of herself, because that's established in the film. She's got a really weird, lecherous eye for blokes. Like, there's really, like, she's, you know, eye fucking people. It's really quite disturbing. And she knows everything. She has a photographic memory. She's memorized 7 journals. 7 archaeologist journals. She learned Pilibus, something like that, at like age 9. You honestly, kind of the definition of a bit of a Mary Sue. She's got her own version of a short round, but it's a Moroccan. Can do anything, and they're sort of in it together. Just get short round back. The actor's there, he's cool. Get him back, you know. Disappointing, to say the least. Very, very, honestly, very, yeah. I don't, honestly, with such a good first act to devolve into this, and the story is very nonsensical. And it's almost, there's lines of dialogue in the trailer where you just go, what on earth has happened to you, Indiana? Because, you know, I don't believe in the supernatural or something like this. But I have seen things, and I've come to believe that it's not it's not what you believe, but it's how hard you believe it, or something like that. It's like, mate, you saw the Holy Grail. What? You saw the Ark of the Covenant, mate. What are you doing? Like, you can say that it's not the supernatural, but I mean, that's, religion, supernatural, it sort of all goes hand in hand to a degree at the very least. And you're just going to flatten out, deny the whole thing? Really? Very bizarre. I think the bottom line is that this doesn't feel like Indiana Jones when we're dealing with old Harrison Ford. He's a crotchety old man. He's not... It's just not the... I mean, it feels like Harrison Ford, bit of a crotchety old man. He's not having a lark. He's not debonair, sort of quick-witted. He's just crotchety old bloke. And you feel it, like it weighs the film down. And so from that opening, meeting Helena Shaw, we're introduced to Archimedes' dial, basically, and it's the dial of destiny. It's a MacGuffin, but it's also not a MacGuffin because it's super, super dumb, and I'll get to it in spoilers. But then you're just going from one place to another, to another, to another. And they do include some good throwbacks. So they include, like elements of seeing a map and people traveling. And there's quite good scene transitions and things which do make it feel quite authentic. But then it's too much. We get one thing to another, to another, to another. Mads Mikkelsen plays Schmidt. Although not his actual name. He's an ex-Nazi. Still a Nazi, obviously. And he's really good. Mads Mikkelsen's a great actor. Should be in more things. He's superb. He's good in anything he's in. And he's a good villain for what little he's in it. And I'll touch on that more in spoilers. But basically, the movie goes nowhere to a degree. And let me explain this. So, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, he marries Marion and he's got a kid and blah, blah, blah. This film... ever such a slight spoiler, but it's not, because it's not a plot point. Kind of. This film opens up with Marion and him getting a divorce. And his son's dead, because he enlisted and went to Vietnam. So, you undo everything. There was a happy ending at the last movie. And the opening to your new movie. And then you end with a happy ending... the same as the last movie that you just undid. Because it rounds itself out with Marion and him basically back together at the end. I hate it when films do that. It's very lazy. It's lazy writing. But anyway, for a non-spoiler perspective, can I recommend this film? It's 2.5 hours and you do feel the runtime. There was a tuk-tuk race chase scene. Bit of it's in the trailer. I half fell asleep. Like I drifted off. It was boring. I should not be falling asleep in the action scenes of an Indiana Jones film. I get it. I'm getting on a bit, but Christ, like that should not make me fall asleep a little bit. That's bad. That's really bad. So, yeah. Can't wholeheartedly recommend it. Let's put it that way. It's not massively good. The first act was great. Well, I don't understand why they just didn't give us that. Why didn't they just give us that as that would have been brilliant? But you know why? Because obviously they would have to continue it, and they wanted to section this film off and be the end of the whole thing. There you go. But Phoebe Waller-Bridge is a main character. I mean, she is basically the main character in this. She's effectively our hero in this, and she's deeply unlikable. Deeply unlikable. Really, really selfish. Selfish, deeply unlikable. There's very little redeeming qualities about her, and she is a Mary Sue. She is. She just can do everything at anything and is just brilliant. There you go. Bob's your uncle. Knows it all. Bizarre. Absolutely bizarre. So I can't recommend it, but let's talk spoilers now. So you've been warned. Let's talk spoilers. So, why does this film not make any sense? Why is it absolute dog shit? Well, Archimedes' dial, the dial of destiny, is this closed loop. It doesn't make any sense. These types of things don't make any sense. So, they do go back in time, right? They do go back in time. But my main gripe, I mean, I've got a lot of gripes, but this is definitely one of them. The dial itself wasn't made... the dial itself was something which Archimedes was making, but he needed to see it all and keep the watch to finish it. And the watch is something which was brought back in time. So it's this cyclical closed loop. That doesn't work with time. Because how would you have made it if you didn't have someone come back in time, but you made it and then they came back in time to give you the same thing? And it's just this cyclical thing. It's nonsense. It's what people write down thinking that they've made something really smart, but all they've done is write utter nonsense. And it is nonsense. It's crap. And just because we're at the end of the film, Schmidt, the villain, is killed off screen. Not really by anyone, by his own misdeeds. Which I kind of get. You know, that it's kind of in the same vein as some of the other movies where, you know, the Nazis kill themselves because they open the Ark of the Covenant, for instance. The Nazis kill himself because he picks up the wrong chalice, the Holy Grail, right? But this guy he's in a plane and they go back in time through a fissure in time. But they can only go back into... This is the thing that doesn't make sense with this time travel thing. The fissure in time and the Dial of Destiny is rigged, so it has to go back to Archimedes at each time. It can only go to Archimedes. I fucking hated it. Honestly, that was such shit. They're like, oh yeah, we're making this so smart thing. Wanker. No, mate, you're not. It's not smart. It's dumb. Anyway, they go through, and obviously they're attacked by Romans because they're like, oh, it's a dragon, and then they crash and he's dead. And it's like, what a waste of a villain. Could have died a better way. Anyway, Indiana Jones has a complete meltdown. And he's like, no, let me stay here. Let me stay here. Please, please, let me stay here. Why? Why, Indiana? Anyway, he gets punched in the face. Our hero saves the day. Not Indiana, obviously. Feeballer Bridge. So that was dumb. Other things that were dumb. Dialogue of Indiana being a grave robber. He was never a grave robber. Ever. He was never a grave robber. And in fact, he's doing things in the movie which goes against what grave robbers actually do. Which she actually is. Because Helena Shaw sells stuff on the black market. Indiana Jones never did that. But this bitch is lecturing him? What? Ah, so dumb. So dumb. So many dumb things about this film. Oh. That was mine, and I stole it. And I stole it. It's capitalism. You have a rudimentary knowledge of economies. Idiot. Yeah, I can't recommend it. VFX are good, the acting's good. All round, like, there's lots to like in it. But it's fundamentally not put together in a way. And it's not written very well. James Mangold really let himself down here. Or the micromanagement from Disney. One of the two. It doesn't matter what it is. But it's not good. So there you go. Spoiler review. Dog shit. Don't watch it. Honestly, a waste of 2.5 hours. If I didn't do this, I would not have gone to see this film. Because it is honestly a waste of time. It undoes everything that the previous film finished on. To then end in exactly the same position. It's dumb. I hate when films do that. So let me know what you think if you've seen it. Cheers, guys. Take care. Please subscribe. Bye-bye.